Good morning, everybody. Let me just first of all thank you for joining us. Apologize to our folks in the outer markets around the great state of Georgia. We had to cancel the fly around due to some bad weather this morning and thunderstorms after lunch and this afternoon. But we've been closing very strong with the hardworking Georgians bus tour that we've been on. Had a great week last week. Ended up Saturday afternoon with the big rally right outside our home in Athens in Oconee County with Governor Pete Ricketts, and just got incredible momentum. We're reminding our folks, don't take anything for granted. We got to keep working till the last poll closes tomorrow night, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I've been reminding people every stop I've been on, everybody I'm talking to, that we're in a fight for the soul of our state, and the Kemp family's getting up every day to make sure that we're working hard to make sure that Stacey Abrams is not going to be our governor or our next president. And I just want to, remind everybody out there, hey, let's get the vote out. Don't believe the polls. The only poll that matters and the only poll that counts is a poll of the voters on election day. And that's what I've been saying this whole campaign is I've gone around the state and reminded Republican primary voters and a lot of other Georgians of what my record is. And it's exactly what I told people I would do when I was campaigning in 2018. Very simple message. I would put hardworking Georgians first ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. But also, I would do what I said I would do when I was campaigning and implement the policies and the platform that I outlined. And it's been refreshing to talk to folks about that. And I think that's why we're surging at the end. And that's the game plan. We want to peak tomorrow and tomorrow night. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to start with Hannah James from WRBL in Columbus. Hannah, I'm going to send you a request to unmute.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just want to start out by asking, what is your first response from having Vice President Pence backing you versus former President Donald Trump backing Senator Perdue? What was your first response to that be?
Well, I think it just shows that, really the Republicans, not only in the state, but around the country, are rallying to the person that can beat Stacey Abrams. I mean, listen, President Trump and Vice President Pence, I'll be forever grateful to both of them for all that they did to help the great state of Georgia, especially during the pandemic, and I had a great working relationship with their administration and certainly have a great friendship with the vice president. So I'm honored that he's coming to help us close this thing out. But when you think about what we've been doing really over the last 2 weeks, at every stop we've been, we've had folks, great governors that have been real involved in the Republican Governors Association, who's been great supporters. Former Governor Chris Christie, Governor Pete Ricketts, and Governor Doug Ducey have all come to campaign with me. They've also put their money where their mouth is. RGA's played extensively in this race, and we're grateful for that. But they're doing that to support other great Republican governors around the country, and we're excited about that. But also, when you think about what else has happened over the last couple of weeks, Speaker Ralston endorsed me. I've been at campaign events, every bus stop. We've got, multiple legislative leaders from here in the state that I've served with and worked with that have developed the record and the great policies of a lot of different things that we've done over the last couple of weeks, and they've been showing up and offering their support. And I think it just shows the momentum's on our side, and we got to keep pushing ahead and get the vote out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Next question is going to go to Archith on behalf of WJBF in Augusta.
All right. Thank you, Tate. Thank you, Governor. Appreciate your time. Happy Monday. I'm going to ask this question. I asked this to David Perdue as well. What are some positive attributes and qualities that you admire in your opponent, especially David Perdue? What are some good things that you have to say?
Well, I'll have to say this, in regards to the debates and how prepared David was and how hard he fought, I think is certainly commending to him. But I also believe if he had fought that hard and debated John Ossoff that hard, he may have won that race. But I'm not too focused on what other people have been doing, Arch, in the race. I've been focused on what I can control, what my record is, and implementing that record over 3.5 years and 4 legislative sessions. And that's what I've been focused on is my record. Unfortunately, David has been attacking my record because he doesn't have one of his own. And I think that's a big reason that we're surging here at the end is people are realizing, Brian Kemp's done what he said he would do. He's passed the strongest pro-life legislation in the country. He's passed constitutional carry. We've been going after street gangs and street racers. We completed the largest teacher pay raise in state history as promised. And we're making sure that our kids are not going to get indoctrinated in the classroom, and we have fairness in girls' sports. And we've stood up and fought for what we believe to keep our economy open, even when the whole country and a lot of important people were criticizing me. And I would remind you, even David Perdue criticized me and said that we opened too early. But I wasn't listening to them. I was listening to the barbers and the cosmetologists and the waitresses and the folks that own restaurants saying, hey, we can't make it any longer. And so we fought and we opened up. And even when, corporate CEOs tried to cancel us and Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game, I never wavered. I fought for what I believed in, and that was for hardworking Georgians. And that really just goes back to my original promise of, I told you I'd put hardworking Georgians first ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. And I've done that every single time. And I think Georgia voters appreciate that.
Thank you, Governor.
Thanks. Next, we're going to go to Elizabeth with 41 NBC in Macon.
Hello, this is Lizbeth. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning. How are you? I just had a question here. In regards to, I attended, Purdue's campaign stop here in Macon last week, and he kind of touched on, the economy here in Georgia and how he wants to compete with other neighboring states. What are your thoughts on this? And, how do you think that you can help, you mentioned, build up the economy even more if you're reelected?
Well, I think that's a great question because David Perdue, as you know, has a record of closing factories in the United States and in Georgia and moving the jobs to China. And it's no surprise that he criticized me over the Rivian deal and creating 7,500 high-paying jobs, $5 billion worth of an investment in a rural part of our state. As you know, we surpassed even that great announcement Friday when we announced that Hyundai is coming to the Bryan County mega site. $5.5 billion of investment from them, another billion from suppliers, over 8,000 jobs. It's the largest economic development project in state history. Just incredible opportunities for that region in the state. And we've been doing that in all parts of rural Georgia. The last 2 years, we've had record economic development in our state in both the 2021 year, and we already surpassed last year's record year in the third quarter of this year. And 74% of the projects we did last year were outside the 10 metro counties. So we're creating opportunity, and no matter what your zip code or your neighborhood. And I'm very excited about where we're going. We got the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state, most people ever working in the history of our state. And we've done a lot of things to help Georgians fight the 40-year high Biden inflation that we're seeing right now. We're sending every taxpayer at least $250 back. Over $1 billion of taxpayer money we're returning to them versus spending it on one-time projects to help them fight inflation. We suspended the gas tax for 2 months to help Georgians fight the price at the pump that started long before the war in Ukraine because of bad domestic energy policies by the Biden administration. And that's what I want to continue to do, is make sure that Georgians have good opportunity no matter where they live. And I'm very proud of that fact. I think it's interesting that Senator Perdue has actually criticized me on that front.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, great. Next, we're going to go to Jeffrey Williams with WSAV in Savannah. Jeffrey, if you can unmute if you got a question. Okay, anybody from WJCL in Savannah want to unmute and ask a question? Hearing none, we're going to go to Claire Sims in Atlanta. Thanks, guys.
Good morning, Governor. I know you started out by saying that you don't want to pay attention to the polls, and that's not what you're here to do. But Fox 5 did release a new poll last night at 10 o'clock saying that you're at 52%, although that's within the margin of error. How are you feeling about being able to avoid a runoff in this race?
Well, I would ask you on that poll, Claire. I mean, was that a Fox 5 poll? If so, is anybody going to put the crosstabs out there? I mean, I think that's a desperation heave ho at the with 1 second remaining. But we'll see. Our internals are looking good. Every public opinion poll that we've seen that's been legitimate is looking good. But I've told people, look, I don't believe any poll right now. And it doesn't matter. Only thing that's going to matter is who's already voted and the people that are going to vote on Tuesday. And that's why we're working hard to get the vote out. We're still door knocking. We're still doing phone calls. We got the big rally tonight, and we'll do it again tomorrow until the last poll's closed. So, I'm not too worried about polls. I haven't been the whole time. I've just kept my head down. Marty and the girls and I are just trying to win every single day. That's what we're doing today, and we're going to get up and do that again tomorrow.
Thank you. It is a Fox 5 poll. I'll see about those crosstabs for you, sir.
Be great.
Next, we're going to go to Richard in Atlanta.
Governor, good morning. I wanted to ask, last year when David Perdue entered the race, so many people said he's probably got the inside track. We've seen that flip. Within, 2 months ago, the polls were closer. Now we're polls much further apart with you with a big lead. What has changed? What has made the difference between 6 months ago, 5 months ago when Senator Perdue announced and today?
I think, Richard, it really goes back to even before he announced. I mean, I've been preparing for a tough reelection campaign for 3.5 years. We've been fundraising the whole time. I knew I was going to be in for a tough fight just because the environment that we had when I got elected, and certainly 2020 didn't do anything to change that. If anything, it probably made it more challenging. But the fact remains that I have a good record, and we got a great team that I've been working with at the Capitol, with the Republican-controlled House and the Republican-controlled state Senate. And we've done some great things even during the middle of a global pandemic. And I think the longer the campaign went and the more I was able to get out and tell people what my record was, but also be able to tell them what the truth was in regards to, powers that I have and don't have, and that I've been following the law and the Constitution every single day. I've been governor. I've been fighting for hardworking Georgians. I think that's gotten people's attention. And I think that's why we're in the position that we're in. But none of that matters. Tomorrow's what matters. And that's why we got to get the vote out. And I'm encouraging to tell people, look, go vote for the person that has a record that can beat Stacey Abrams in November. That is the ultimate goal here, is to make sure that she's not our governor. And that's exactly what we're working hard to do.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Claudia with Fox News.
Hey, Governor, it's Mark Meredith from Fox News. Thanks so much for doing this morning. Over the weekend in Norcross, Stacey Abrams made some eyebrow-raising comments in which she said she's tired of hearing Georgia being the best place to do business when we are the worst state in the country to live. Without a lack of a better question, any response to that, sir?
Well, thanks, Mark. I'm sure you understand, but I completely disagree with that. Every single bus stop I've been on, and Marty and the girls have been right there with me for the last, month or so, 6 weeks that we've been doing those. I tell people, I wake up every single day and believe now more than I ever have that we live in the greatest state in the country to live, work, and raise our families. Now, look, we got issues that we got to continue to work on, and I've been doing those things. And a lot of the things that she says she's disappointed in, we tackled. We've tackled. That's part of my record. You look at the Mental Health Reform Act we passed this year, what we're doing for birthing mothers, extending up to a year that they can be on Medicaid to help them and their newborn child. What we've been doing to protect life in our state, not just with the heartbeat bill. You think about adoption reform, foster care reform. Marty Kemp and our family and the General Assembly have been doing as much as anybody in the country at the state level to end human trafficking and to raise awareness and to go after the perpetrators, but also to help the victims of that evil crime. And so that's why I get up every single day and I'm like, I'm thankful I live in Georgia where we've been open and we've had a focus to protect lives and livelihoods, and our kids have been in the classroom. But it's no wonder that she thinks that way. I mean, she's literally criticized everything I've done. She criticized when I reopened, saying it was too early. She criticized when we were trying to get our kids back in the classroom, one of the first states to do that. And I'll remind you, the data in the Trump administration and the data in the Biden administration is the same data. It says our kids can be in the classroom. It doesn't say it's not going to be hard, but we fought through that, and our kids are better off for it. And then she's criticized me for not having mandates on masks and vaccines and other things, even when she goes into a school that had a mask mandate, and she was so privileged that she didn't have to wear one. But I'm glad she said that. I don't think that's where Georgians are, but that's why I want to win tomorrow, because I'm going to put my record up against, her views and what her record is. And I think we'll fare very well in November after the end of that.
Thanks, Governor. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, folks, if I could remind you, if you've got a question as we get ready to wrap up here, if you'll just use that hand waving feature at the bottom of your screen. Archith, I know you had a couple more questions for some of the other outlets you cover, so I'll go back to you.
All right, thanks, Tate. Thanks, Governor. Good to talk to you again. Governor, we had a couple of questions from Augusta, Savannah, and Columbus, our regional markets. They're asking, would you plan on extending the gas tax, and how do you plan to help with unemployment in some of our regional markets in Georgia, not just in Atlanta, to help fight and help those numbers stay low?
Well, on the gas tax suspension, we're having conversations with the legislative leadership right now on that. I really appreciate, them buying into what we did during the legislative session, and I appreciate the leadership of especially the Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, because of our conservative budgeting and the way we've been running the government even during a pandemic, and because we've been open, our revenues have been strong, and so we were able to offset the tax revenue and still put the money into transportation projects, and that's what we're considering right now. Do we have the financial ability to do that again? And we're crunching the numbers, and we'll have some more news soon on that. But listen, I know Georgians need it. They're getting hammered at the pump right now because of bad energy policies by this president, Joe Biden. It's amazing to me they continue to double down on that and not help Americans and Georgians have some relief at the pump. But I'm going to continue to do everything in my power to help Georgians fight through the record high inflation that we're seeing right now, which is one reason not only that we returned over $1 billion and suspended the gas tax, but we also cut the state income tax this year and have a plan to continue to do that in the future. So it's going to continue to help Georgians fight through things like this until we can hopefully send some troops up to Washington, D.C. to change policies this November in the election. On the unemployment front, I mean, I'd be interested to note specifically what region you're talking about, because everywhere I go, every single employer I'm talking to, they all need more people. And, that's a challenging thing for our state right now. And we're addressing those challenges in a lot of different ways. If you look at what we're doing with our workforce training programs, what we're doing in our university system and our technical college system to pump more graduates out to supply the workforce. That's why we have so many companies that are doing announcements and coming to our state or growing their business here, is because they know we're continuing to do that every year across all across the board. But we're also targeting specific sectors when you think about criminal justice and law enforcement degrees, rural health care. We've got 1,300 additional slots for rural health care in the budget this year, 136 residency slots for rural physicians, 500 nursing slots, and hundreds of allied health slots. We're also doing a lot on the logistical side of things with training more truck drivers, putting money into capital projects so we got more training facilities, but also the ability to train more drivers. And so we're doing a lot of that as well. And that's what we're going to continue to do as long as we need to. It's a better problem to have with what we're seeing here versus what we're seeing in other states where businesses are being closed because of one person, and that's the governor, keeping lockdowns and not having kids back in school and all those things have trickle down effects. And it's one reason that we fought so hard in Georgia to keep our state open and to keep our kids in the classroom. And I think people realize it matters more than ever now who your governor is. When you look around the country and you have people in perennial lockdown, kids aren't in the classroom, you can go gamble in some of these states, but you can't go to church. And I think that's why people are rising up and they're excited about this election and making me the nominee again so I can use that record to defeat Stacey Abrams in November.
And real quick, Governor, who do you plan to endorse in the Senate race, which is crucial against Warnock?
Well, I'm not too worried about anybody else's race but mine right now, Arch. I have a lot of friends in the Republican primary and for the United States Senate, but I got a lot of other friends running in all kind of different races, and I know they've been working hard just like I've been. And I think what we're going to see after tomorrow is you're going to see Republicans unify. I mean, we've had some tough, hard-fought battles, and I've been in those in the past where I didn't come out on top, and I supported our ticket and the candidate that defeated me. And I think that's what you're going to see as we go into November. We got to be unified to win and stop Stacey Abrams and defeat Raphael Warnock in November. And I believe we'll do that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone for bearing with us this morning on this. We're going to go to our last question of the day as we wrap up. Kelly from News Nation. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Governor. We're seeing this split between Pence and Trump here. Looking forward, if you win tomorrow, how do you plan to bring together both Trump supporters and your supporters, especially if Trump is actively campaigning against you?
Well, I don't know that there's any kind of split that's out there. There's just, people that are supporting me out there, and there's people that are supporting my opponents out there. I mean, that's the part of being in a Republican primary. It's always been that way. I wouldn't tell people to read too much into that. I've had a great relationship with Mike Pence. I had a great relationship with President Trump. I've never said anything bad about him. I don't plan on doing that. I'm not mad at him. I think he's just mad at me, and that's something that I can't control. But I know this, I'm inviting anybody out there that wants to help my campaign and help us defeat Stacey Abrams. I'm the person that's done that, and I believe I'm the only person that can do it in November, and that's why I'm asking people to vote for me. And I'll ask them to unite behind me, and I believe that they will. And that's just what we're going to continue to do, is keep working hard to win this election. But I also think I have a record to appeal to a lot of people that we lost in the 2020 election, and that's something else we'll be talking about and working on as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for participating this morning. That's going to conclude our Q&A, and we will, I'm sure, hear from all of you in the next 36 hours or so. Thanks, guys.